Welcome everybody. This is a little bit of a tutorial on how to use a website called eBird.org, and we're going to learn about eBird and Sandhill Cranes at the same time. So we're going to learn about Sandhill Cranes through eBird, and we're going to learn about eBird through Sandhill Cranes. I've gotten a lot of questions in the store about starting in the fall of 2016, where are the Sandhill Cranes? And I'm getting questions now about whether or not the Sandhill Cranes are leaving. And so we're going to look at eBird, and I'll show you how to get some of those answers. Now, first of all, we go to eBird.org, ebird.org. And we click on Explore Data up in the main menu. And then we go to Species Maps, and you see now we get a map of the entire world. So we're going to go up here to the bar at the top, and we're going to enter some data. So the genus of the Sandhill Crane, you don't have to have the Latin genus, by the way. You can put in here Sandhill Crane. Actually, let's do that. Let's type in Sandhill Crane. Now, Sandhill Crane is a little bit complex in its taxonomy because there are a handful of subspecies. When you find that to be the case, you generally can just pick the most simple one, which is going to have two names. There's going to be a genus name, which is, in the case of Sandhill Crane, Antigone, and there's going to be a specific epithet, which is canadensis. The others are going to have a third section, which is the subspecific epithet. So we're just going to click on Antigone canadensis, and I'm going to change the date attributes to 2016, and we're going to go from November 2016 because I know that's when the cranes started to come in. We're going to leave this at 2017, and we're going to change it to February because that's the month that we are in as of this recording. I'm going to set the date range, and that gives us data in the range of the Sandhill Crane. So for November 2016 through February 2017, I begin to scroll in. Well, I scroll in, and you'll watch as I scroll in a little bit further, these broad fields will turn into individual data points. By the way, a note on this as I scroll in here, these data are derived from reports of people in the field. So what you see here are points where certain data has been actually been collected by people out there counting birds. And there are a lot of them doing it. So this is reliable stuff. We're going to zoom in on Paynes Prairie Preserve State Park because that's where I also know that that's where the vast majority of cranes are. And we're going to zoom a little bit further into the area around Alachua Sink, which is at the end of the north entrance into Paynes Prairie, Camp Ranch Road. Many of you have been there, I'm sure, and you will find that there are some blue and red teardrop shapes. Those are data points. We are going to choose a hotspot here. I've done a little bit of footwork, so I know that there's a lot of data associated, or the data that we want to look at is associated with this particular hotspot. So, and when I click on that hotspot, it begins to fetch the sightings, and there they are. So let's scroll all the way back down to November 1st, and you see that in this in this bit of data that we can see here, the cranes number in up to 27 here on the 2nd, and then they stay kind of around a handful. In some cases, you have somebody reporting that they saw no Sandhill Cranes. I suppose that's significant. But then they start to creep up. I'm going to scroll up a bit here where we see they grow into the between 1 and 200 in the second and third week of November. I'm going to scroll again, and you see that we start to see reports in above 1,000. I think that this November 27th sighting by Mary Kimberly was the first one that exceeded 1,000 Sandhill Cranes. So let's scroll quickly on up to mid-December, where we see that the numbers start to get above several thousand. Here is, I know there's one notable date on the 22nd where we get over 10,000 birds. Now, it stays like that for well into January, and We see 7,000 here in the first week of January. We're going to see that again. Here's 5,000, where we see 7,000 again here in the second week of January, and so on and so forth, until we get to about the third, really the fourth week of January, where things start to change. And the numbers begin to go down in the last week of January, even though we still got 5,000 Sandhill Cranes just today, February 1st. We also see evidence that the cranes are indeed leaving. Now, I happen to live very close to the north rim of the prairie, and so I also have the evidence of the birds circling and flying north above my house to help me out with that. But when I hear so many people coming into the store, or so many people calling or emailing or asking me on Facebook, hey, are the cranes leaving? Because I saw and or heard a group of them flying north over me today. So the answer, based on what we see here on eBird, is yes, indeed they are. Now, they will be around for a little bit longer, so folks, get on out there. Let me kill this list and show you where to go. That's another great feature of this map. Zooming out a little bit, this is Southeast 15th Street, also known as Kincaid Loop. Down here at the bottom of the loop is the beginning of a road called Camp Ranch Road, and that road goes all the way down to District 2 headquarters at the Prairie, but you'll stop at a parking lot somewhere up in here. You'll pay your entrance fee, and then you'll walk out on the Lachua Trail, and about right here is where you start finding the cranes, and then they number in the hundreds and thousands all the way out into this part of the prairie. So go get it. You've got about another somewhere between a week and a half and 3 weeks